Hey, it's Jesse from S.A.V.A Press, and I wanted to start doing a series of videos called Editor's Choice, where I just give my thoughts on fiction and nonfiction books that I really like and that I think have a certain value to them, and I think that everyone should read at some point in time. So, my first fiction selection is going to be my very favorite novel of all time, The Dead Zone by the maestro himself, Stephen King. And this was published in 1980. There was a big budget movie directed by David Cronenberg based on this book, and I want to say early 2000s or so, there was a TV series starring Anthony Michael Hall, also based on this book. Um, so, if you've never seen the show or the movie or read the book, there will be spoilers in my discussion of the Dead Zone because it's hard for me to talk about the plot without giving away some of the more crucial aspects of it. But anyway, you've been warned. So the Dead Zone is about just an all-American guy with an impish sense of humor named Johnny Smith, and as a child, Johnny has a accident at a skating rink where he hits his head, and that sort of awakens a sixth sense where he has these intuitions, kind of knows things. And when he gets older, he's a high school teacher, and he goes out on a date with a girl, and at the end of this date, he gets into a car wreck and ends up going into a coma for 4 years. And all of this happens right up front at the very beginning of the book, for the most part. So, not giving away anything too crucial at that point. But when Johnny comes out of the coma, he has real serious psychic abilities, where if he can touch a person or an object and he knows things about the person or the object, or sometimes he'll get a flash of the past or a flash of the future. I believe the ability is called psychometry. Not that I believe in that in real life or anything, but I believe that's what that's called, like telekinesis, that sort of thing. Um, so this basically ruins Johnny's life. He kind of becomes this freak, as that's what he thinks about himself for the most part. And the book is counterbalanced by this other character who's the villain, named Greg Stilson. And Greg Stilson is intelligent. He's very cagey, but he kind of comes from a backwater sort of background, and he's just an utter lunatic. But he's very manipulative, and he wants power. And he ends up running for the local a local office in Maine, where the story is set. And at a certain point, Johnny and Greg cross paths, and Johnny gets a glimpse of the future of Greg doing some horrible things. And Johnny realizes that he's the only one who knows that this is going to happen, and he has to figure out what he's going to do about it. Um, so it's slightly science fiction, but it's more of a thriller type book, but done in Stephen King's very literary way, which I mean I love the way he gives such a emotional depth to all of his characters. His skill is unmatched in that area as far as I'm concerned, especially with his earlier work. Um, Another really great thing about this book is there's kind of I don't know if subplot is the correct term, but a smaller story within the story about a serial killer in Castle Rock that Johnny also kind of ends up crossing paths with. And at the time that this book was written, there wasn't a whole lot of information about serial killers and about criminal psychology. And that happens to be one of my favorite things to read about, which I'm sure I'll be talking about that in some of my nonfiction selections when I get around to that. But the way Stephen King describes this killer and the killer's MO, and why the killer is acting the way he's acting, and just the little idiosyncrasies of the killer is kind of spooky that he would know that about the serial killer psychology. I mean, he's just kind of dead on with it. Pardon the pun. And so I really enjoy that aspect of the book as well. Um, it's just it's one of those books I can pick it up and start reading it, even though I've read it at least 3 or 4 times throughout my life, and it just sucks me right in. Something about Johnny, you just really feel for the character. You feel for his girlfriend Sarah, who has to deal with him being in the coma for 4 years, and she kind of goes on and just moves on with her life, and then Johnny has to deal with that. And there's a lot of stuff regarding Johnny's parents, and he forms a really strong relationship with his doctor, Dr. Wycheck. And it's one of Stephen King's greatest books, I think, and one that doesn't really get talked about too much today. And so I don't want it to be forgotten. If you're looking for something good to read, and maybe if you've never read Stephen King before, this is a great book to start off with. The Dead Zone. Check it out.